It's Tuesday the 3rd of March. It's the beginning of a 3-week sitting block and it should be a pretty varied and interesting one. We're going to start off today with a ministerial statement from the Minister of Health about coronavirus. He'll talk for up to 5 minutes. Party leaders of real parties can reply for 5, and then David Clark, can have another 2 minutes at the end. After that, we'll go on to oral questions, tamati coffee to the Minister of Finance about reports on the economy, Simon Bridges to the Prime Minister about standing by her government's statements and actions, Paul Goldsmith to the Minister of Finance about the economic effects of coronavirus, Mark Patterson to the Minister for Regional Economic Development about the Provincial Growth Fund announcements, Michael Woodhouse to the Minister of Health about the New Zealand's response to the coronavirus outbreak, Judith Collins to the Minister of Housing about the Progressive Home Ownership Scheme, Angie Warren-Clark to the Minister of Health about coronavirus, the Honourable Jerry Brownie to the Minister of Foreign Affairs about a statement that Minister made about the contribution that Indian immigrants and students make to the New Zealand economy. Mark Mitchell to the Minister of Police about organised crime, Deborah Russell to the Minister of Small Business about getting them paid on time, and David Seymour to the Minister of Police about search warrants for firearms. The final question is Chris Bishop to the Minister for Regional Economic Development about the balance between Southland and Northland in grants. We'll then go on to the Prime Minister's statement, which is likely to continue through the afternoon. This is where MPs get a 10-minute chance to respond to the comments that the Prime Minister made on the first sitting day. We'll then, early in the evening, go on to the Abortion Legislation Bill second reading, and that'll take most of the evening. This is a conscience vote. Andrew Little, the Minister in charge of the bill, will have the first call, but after that it gets to be my decision rather than a straight roster as to who gets the call. There's a little bit left on the electoral amendment bill which might get finished before 10 o'clock tonight. And we'll be back again at the same time tomorrow.